we have created our first user in our backend. I just turned my thumbnail generator up in a real SaaS application with login and authentication. Let me show you how. Every time I refresh my thumbnail generator, everything is gone. That's not a real app. That's a toy. No memory, no users, no way to save the work. Today we're going to add authentication and backend in 20 minutes. We're going to use Supabase for the backend and Cursor for coding. This is turning into a real SaaS application that can handle up to 50,000 users. As a first step in our series to connect the backend, which will happen now, we need to create a landing page. This landing page will be serving us as the protective layer with a sign up and login form, and create a general landing page with a hero section with a description of the app, and most importantly, the login and sign up form. So as I mentioned, the first landing page will sort of serve as the door, and the backend then later will add the security. We're adding the rules and, if you will, the lock to it, so no one can access the actual application without having signed up before. We're just quickly creating that page. We're not going to go in detail into design or anything. We just want the page to exist with the login and sign up form, and that's it. We're not going to focus on anything else. We're pretty much going to accept what the agent will give us in the first go. All right, very cool. Look, good try as a first landing page. Thumbnail generator creates stunning and professional thumbnail powered by AI. How it works: describe your vision. AI creates the magic. Refine and download. Login and sign up. Well, very nice. I believe it used the Shad's and UI components, so to already make it look quite nice in terms of design, and that's absolutely perfect. All right, so now we will connect this form and the general app with the backend. What we're going to use as a service provider is Supabase, which is a platform that lets you use their database, their server space. It has already authentication and other modules embedded, so we don't need to develop anything from scratch. In fact, developing something like that from scratch would cost many hours and a lot of money. So Supabase is one option that is very popular. On the other hand, you also have Firebase. I think those are like the two main providers for backend services, but I'm sure there are also others. But we're gonna focus on Supabase. I've prepared for you a quick drawing for you to understand the whole concept a little bit better. Basically, we're taking our thumbnail generation app that works as the front end. You're gonna use the login sign up form on our landing page for this instance that we've just created. And Supabase does two main things. For one, it is a security layer, as it secures and stores away the data safely and only gives you access if you have an account with your specific ID, then you can access your specific data. So it is super safe, and it kind of acts as an security guard. On the other hand, it is also a database where it stores your information. The language is PostgreSQL. Good to have heard it one time. But in general, it acts as a database, server space, where it saves all of your user settings, your thumbnails, your picture, your user data. That's how it works. Let's have a look and set this up. So this is how the Supabase platform looks when you go to their website. We already just had a look before. In general, you just need to create an account and sign up. And then once you are inside, we're going to click on new project. We're going to choose a project's name, which is going to be thumbnail generator. We could just generate a strong password. This password, don't lose it, is the password that gives you access to your backend and is the key to everything. So keep that very secure. You can copy it. Then in the region, you want to keep the region that is most close to you. This gives you a faster performance. So Europe is fine. And then we create new project. Our project in Supabase was created called Thumbnail Generator. How the backend generally works is that you create tables that you fill out. It's like user ID, username, email. So you need to think about what kind of data you want to store, the same way you would set up a Google Sheet. And then you can create the tables, the rows, the lines, bit by bit. Here you see an example. It says you have the ID, you have the task, you have the status. That's exactly how it works. So you can do that manually, which is one option, by clicking on Table Editor and then going to New Table. And then you get this side pop-up window here where you can start creating a table. You can give it a name, you can give it a description, you can choose different columns. So the ID is mandatory, and then you can choose the data type. Here you have different options from numeric to JSON formula to normal text and so on. So you need to decide depending on what your column is, what kind of data type you want to be stored. And here you can just click on Add Column, and you can just add as many columns as you want. This is a bit cumbersome because you have to do it manually, but it's also very nice to understand that you're just creating a table with rows and columns in the end of the day and choosing the data form. There is a faster way, however, to do this, which I'm gonna show you now. The faster way to do it is to click on the SQL editor. And what this does is basically the SQL language is sort of like code, and the Cursor agent can write that perfectly for you in a couple of seconds. So we can just ask the Cursor agent to give you the SQL code for the SQL editor for the table that we need. So let's do that. I created a project in Supabase called Thumbnail Generator, and I would like to create the first table that we need. Can you give me the SQL code for the SQL editor? So now the agent, as it understands our project, will understand what kind of table we need and will create me a copy-paste code snippet that I can then just put in the editor. There you go. The agent has created me the SQL code for my table in Supabase. It includes the table schema, indexes, row level security. So what RLS, row level security, means is that it locks and secures the rows so no one can access any data except you have the unique ID, which only you have connected to your login data. So this is a very important step. You first create the table, and then second, you add the row security level. In this case, the agent has given me both at the same time. Let's try it. So we're just gonna go in here. We're gonna copy all this code. Command copy. This SQL creates user table with ID, email, name, password, email verified, created at, date, updated at, performance optimizations, automatic timestamp updates, and row level security. So very good. Let's try this out. Let's go back to our Supabase SQL editor, and then I'm just going to click here and paste that code. And then I'm going to click run. The following potential has issue been detected. Anyways, run this query. Let's run it. And then down here, I think if success, no rows returned, if you get that message, it was successful. If you get here any error messages or any complaint messages in any form, you just copy it, give it back to the agent, and it will adjust the SQL code in the next step. So from here, we can just quickly have a look if the table was created. We go here to the left bar, click on database. Then we will see here the database management tab open, and then we click on tables. And then we see that one table here was created, but we can also click here on the scheme visualizer and open that up. And then you see basically like a Google Sheet with rows and just the headers. We have a unique ID, we have an email, we have a name, we have a password, we have email verified, a timestamp when it was created and updated. So basically the table in a few seconds was created by itself, and the SQL editor did it all for us, or the Cursor agent did it all for us in seconds. So you don't have to set up any table manually at all. Now let's connect our app with the Supabase table and project that we have created. All we need to do is install one package, and then our app can draw from the authentication module or component that is already existing in Supabase. So let's try this out. Okay, I have created the project and the table in Supabase. Let's now connect it. Please install the Supabase package as well as connect it to the authentication module. Once we have installed the package, I will need to connect it with the API keys, and I think a key that is called anon key. Those are two keys that it will need to connect it and run it. So the agent was asking me, because the backend folder is completely empty at the moment and we want to install the Supabase and the backend in the backend folder, which backend framework I would like to use. So you can use Node.js and Express in TypeScript, Node.js and Fastify in TypeScript, or Python and Fast API. So in Python, I haven't done anything yet, and it's also a different tech stack than our front end. To keep it aligned with the tech stack in our front end, I chose Node.js and Express TypeScript, which was also the recommendation from our agent here. Let's continue here and have the backend be prepared, the folder structure, and the packages installed. Since we chose Node.js and Express TypeScript, it now installed some packages here in our backend folder. So we can close the front end for now, which is what we have been dealing before that. So now we're adding the backend, and now we're adding files in the backend folder. And after that, once it has installed everything, it will ask me for the keys. And I believe then we're already connected. Okay, the agent has finished. Perfect. I've successfully set up the backend with Supabase integration. Here's what I have created. The backend setup is complete. Backend structure, server TS, lib Supabase, service authentication TS, and root authentication TS is all implemented. Configuration files and front-end updates for the login form. So it's telling us to go to the backend.env. So backend.env would be this one. And it wants us to add the real Supabase URL and anon key. So we go to our Supabase project. We're gonna go here and click on the main page. And if you scroll down here, you have the project URL. We're gonna copy that. And we're gonna enter it here in the Supabase URL. So don't worry, those are public keys. The keys are actually not what protect the data. What is protecting the data is the row level security policies. So even if anybody has those public keys, it doesn't matter, because they're not going to be able to do anything with it, because there are those rules, the lock in the Supabase set up as row level security. So it's absolutely secure and no one can access. Okay, so we have copied the first one. Let's copy the API key as well. All right. That's a long one. And then I'm going to hit Command Save. All right, I'm going to tell the agent that I've added the keys. I'm also going to ask it if we already connected the authentication form or module or framework to our sign up page or sign up form on the landing page. Okay, great. I updated the keys in the .env file from the backend. Is the authentication module already connected to our sign in form on the landing page? Okay, let's send this. Let's see what the agent says. Yes, the forms are configured to call the backend API, but we need to start the backend server first. So let me do that now. Okay, it's starting the backend server. So it's my first project that I do with a backend folder and a front-end folder. I need to understand if we need to run both servers for the app to work. Now, apparently there's a server running in the front end and a server running in the back end. Let's see if that is the case. I will just ask maybe the agent here on the side. So we have a web app application where we have a backend folder and a front end folder, and we have separated the two. The agent just told me that we need to run the backend server. Is it in order for the application to work that we always need to start a backend server and a front end server, or how do I need to understand that? All right, let's see. Let's get some answers here. You can also let several agents work at the same time. What did our agent reply to us? Your application uses split architecture, backend server, Express port 5000 and frontend server Next.js port 3000. Do you need both running? Yes. So if I want the authentication to work, I need to run both servers. Otherwise, I can just open the front end for my testing purposes. Okay, I can only open the front end server if I want to skip authentication and only use the thumbnail generator. Perfect. The backend server is now running successfully. Everything is connected and ready. Current status: front end running on localhost 3000. Landing page with login and sign up. Backend running on localhost 5000. Authentication API. Supabase connected and ready. Authentication fully integrated. Okay, that sounds great. Let's try this out. On our landing page, we need to sign up, and then we sign up. Account created successfully. And let's look at here. So we successfully created an account in the form, and it also shows up here in our backend. I have a unique user ID, my email, my password, and all of that. It's all here. So we have created our first user on our application. So that has worked fantastically. Our authentication is working great. I want the app to be set up the following. Whenever I open the application, I should land on the landing page, and I need to then log in into my account. Otherwise, I cannot be redirected to the thumbnail generation app. So I either have to sign up or I have to log in. Is that already the case, or do we still need to set it up in terms of a security layer? I want to make sure the security layer is in place. I don't want anybody to be able to access my thumbnail generation app without having signed up first or logged in. So as it says, currently there's no security layer. Anyone can directly navigate to the app. So obviously I don't want that. So let's make sure to implement that last security layer. And then we're going to try it out to log in and see if that works. We are at the landing page. We're going to log in as we have already created my user. I hope it remembers that. Enter anyway. We're going to log in and look at that. We are in our app, successful login. Our username is here, not the most pretty, but it's a start. And we have a log out function. We can log out again, and that's all set up. Amazing. We just built a backend in 20 minutes. We can create users, we can log in, we have a security layer. We're using Supabase as our service provider, a system that all big companies use that would cost thousands of euros to code it yourself. Users cannot save their thumbnails yet. Next time, we're going to create a database and a gallery. I will keep coding in public. Make sure you subscribe and follow along.